it's Simon here. Alright, another quick video with what I think is possibly the main question in life related to this sort of thing, which is kind of like therapy, coaching, nutrition, whatever, all rolled into one. Because I think, and I hope you agree, that it is really important and valuable to help you understand and control your emotions. So, first question for the day: how do you notice people controlling their emotions? What does that mean to you? What does the idea of controlling your emotions even say to you? What pops into your mind? Let's go through a few options. Number one, damp them down altogether. Take those emotions, crush them down, put them into the back of your mind and body, just like Mr. Spock in Star Trek. Now, I don't know about you, but I know quite a few people like this. Quite a few of them are middle-aged men. Some have been relatives of mine. To give you an example, both my grandfather and my grandmother, in fact, were very, very much like this. They didn't express emotions. They wanted to crush them all down, basically pretend they weren't really there, and everything had to be about the sort of sensible, rational, stay calm approach. Another option, do you want to blame everyone else for the problems in your life? Pretty controversial, but if you think about it, this happens a lot. Look at horrible political regimes, where the problems of people living have been put onto others, and those other people have been blamed for something going wrong. It's really easy to think of examples where this has happened in the past. I'll tell you a really good one: World War II. Okay, moving on. How about becoming religious or spiritual in one way or the other? How about saying that that religion, that faith that you have, is responsible for the path your life is taking? That's another pretty good way, right, of people controlling their emotions. On the one side of it, it could be pretty amazing, right? You know, being a member of a faith gives you a community, it gives you a reason for life. It explains all the crazy things that we see happening around us. On the other side of it, it could lead to something very destructive. And I'll reference you again to war. I would say most wars in the world have been started by religions. And those in turn, if you think about them, if you think about the individuals involved in starting those wars and taking part in those wars, they had to have signed up to something, right? Something bigger than themselves that they felt was giving meaning to their lives, and which in turn helped explain their emotional reactions that they had to things. Here's another one, great one for the modern era of how people control their emotions. They numb themselves. This sort of happens all the time, right? A guy I used to know, I better not say his name, but he used to drink maybe 2 bottles of vodka in the morning, 6 to 8 bottles of wine in the evening. And yeah, it would have killed him if he'd carried on, but he was pretty young, and he kind of got away with it until he got arrested and thrown in a foreign jail. It's a quite extraordinary story. Can you think of anyone like this? Can you think of anyone you know who maybe, I don't just mean booze by the way, who like numbs themselves with maybe antidepressants, with too much booze, with constantly being stoned, whatever it is? These are all ways of basically trying to control your emotions. What about this? Changing reality. This is a great way to control your emotions. And I've done this in the past, basically played a lot of video games. So what happens when you're playing a video game, or you're staring at the TV, or whatever it is? Like, I'll give you an example, a really good short-term way of doing this, which is, I think, super helpful, is to go to the theatre or a cinema, where you become invested in the story in front of you. And it's great, right? You can get involved. And that is a way of giving emotions that might be like stuck inside you a channel. You're giving them an out. You're allowing yourself to express different emotions, you're projecting them into another reality. And that's kind of wonderful, as long as you don't rely on it all the time. Here's a great way of controlling your emotions: blowing off steam. Going to a football match, something like that, where you can feel part of a tribe, and you can shout and scream and go completely mad, and it's all fine. Imagine in your mind for a second a bunch of sports fans shouting and screaming like that in the middle of a business meeting. How weird would that be? They wouldn't get away with it for long. But what they're doing at that football ground, and why it's so fantastic, is that they're taking repressed emotions which are stuck in there, which you can't exhibit in a business meeting. And they're saying, here it goes, out onto the pitch, where my warriors that I support in front of me are kicking a ball around, and I'm all behind that. It's all primal, it's all there, it's wild, wild emotions, and that's what I live for. I live for that football match, and that's why it's important, because basically I'm blowing off that emotion. Alright, so that's a bunch of ways, right, of how people control their emotions. Did you recognize any of those? Well, I think there's one missing, one really important one, which is what you and I can work on together. And that is giving you control over your emotions in such a way that you can choose how you feel. So effectively, with me, you'll be able to choose to feel good instead of letting bad feelings take you over. Now, when you can do that, a lot of those things in there, particularly the utterly destructive things, like numbing yourself with drugs of one form or another, you won't need them anymore. You won't want them anymore. You will notice as you go through life, being able to control your emotions and create positivity in your own life, how many of the things that you may have relied on in the past, they're gone. They're into the dustbin of history. You don't need them. You will have a beautiful control of your emotions, and you will be able to choose to feel good in your life. It's a great thing. So stick with me, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll start to work on that together. And I'll see you soon.